MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WinBet. Bet $100 at WinBet and get a $100 free bet. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WinBet. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. We're also brought to you by the College Football Experience. Get ready for the college football season by checking out all 131 college football team previews. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/CFB. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/CFB. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford. I am in Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast corner of England. Today is Wednesday, August 24th. And we are here to handicap a little card, 9 MLB games for Thursday, August the 25th. And it's an old-timey special. Tonight, the young kids are off doing what young kids do. I don't know, skateboarding around or whatever. Leaving myself and the machine in the background. Hi, Moodaf, how are you?
What's going on, Malcolm? Yeah, great to be here with you. I know Dylan is traveling. I think he's going down south, and then Noah, I believe, is headed to a concert. So yeah, the kids are off doing kids things, like you said.
Yeah, no skateboarding for us, Moodaf. We're going to sit here and be grumpy and handicap baseball games like we do best. So.
We're not grumpy. We have some winners over the line already. We're having a great.
Yeah, it's been a busy start to the slate today. Our the big sweat that you, Dylan, and Noah were all sweating out was the K props on Matt Manning that Noah was very keen on last night.
Yeah.
He talked us through it. He broke it down really nicely, and then Matt Manning got over that. And I think the line was at 3.5.
Yeah, the line was 3.5. Yeah.
Yep, and I was in the bath as per usual, listening to you and Noah talk up the strikeout. So I think he got to 5 pretty quickly. So that came over the line. And we locked up. We gave out Detroit as our dog. There was at least 2 of us. Yeah. I had Detroit as my dog. They won that game by 6-1. Colorado have already blown up and done us a favor. We had Texas as a nice price. Texas were 9-0 up inside 2 innings, I think, against Jose Urena. So, yeah, just waiting on Anibal Sanchez to give up a few runs here for my lock. The Jesus Luzardo strikeout prop that talks about, that one's over the line already, I think, as well. So, yeah, a busy start to the slate, but already cashed a few bets as well. Chatbox Dryden, good evening. How you doing? Noah's still not being able to live down his hat-trick of being caught on mute the other day. Dryden's asking if he thinks we can skateboard when he can't even work his mute button. Fair enough. So yeah, like I say, we've got just 9 games tomorrow, Moonaf, so we can keep this down to way under the hour and a quarter that we go to when the kids have been waffling on. So short slate tomorrow. It's a really chalky one, Moonaf. I think this is the chalkiest slate of games that I've handicapped all season. We often split the games up so we can take the lead on sort of half the games each. And my half of the slate is really, really chalky. And I don't know what to do about it. So hopefully as we go, you might be able to direct me with some picks here, because it's really difficult. But we will start with a 1:10 Eastern first pitch between the LA Angels and the Tampa Bay Rays, where the lefty Patrick Sandoval will go for the Angels and Drew Rasmussen is on the hill for the Tampa Bay Rays. I'll just have to locate the lines. Give me 2 seconds to get this page in the right place. Then we can rock and roll. The Angels are plus 155. Tampa Bay are minus 184. It's a very low total, 6.5. Sandoval is 4-8 with a 3.14 ERA. He's pitched 109 innings with 115 strikeouts. Rasmussen is 8-4, has a 2.82 ERA, 105 1/3, and 90 punches. Sandoval's been going really well, 1-3. Doesn't sound too inspiring over his last 5 starts, but he has got a 2.89 ERA in that span. He's got a 2.91 road ERA on this season as well. So he's been ticking boxes. Rasmussen is 2-1 in his last five with a 195 ERA. Now, what I've written down here, Munaf, our Karate Kid moment last night when you put your arm around me and waved me off into the sunset because I made that Suarez first first five pick last night. And I watched that game because I was interested to see how my lock got on. And the Angels, I just can't back them anymore, Moon. I don't care who's pitching for them. They can roll Sandy Koufax out tomorrow. I am not taking the Angels into any circumstances until they've done 5 positive things for me. They're out of lives. They're on the naughty step. I'm not having it. I've written down here Tampa Bay run line at plus 140. I'm just out of ideas with them. They absolutely stink, Moona.
Yeah, it's offensively, it's not very good. And I thought that, getting Mike Trout back and David Fletcher back would help this team, but it really hasn't helped this offense yet. I mean, we got to give credit to the Rays pitching as well. They have a pretty good pitching staff. They always have, and they really pride themselves on their pitching. But you kind of take a look at the splits against left-handed pitching over the last 2 weeks for this team. The LA Angels WRC plus against lefties are number 23 in the entire league. Team batting average is at 22. OPS is at 23, so well below league average against left-handed pitching. And it's a shame because, like you mentioned, Patrick Sandoval has been going along pretty good for the LA Angels. It just hasn't translated to wins for him. And I understand why this total is at 6.5 for these two pitchers. Drew Rasmussen, he's been going along pretty well as well for the Tampa Bay Rays. 8-4 on the season, last 5 games, 2-1 with a 1.95 ERA, even better at home. From his overall ERA, he's 5-1 with a 1.99 ERA, and I don't see if he has faced the Angels this season. He had one appearance against them last season, but it was only in a relief appearance. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how we can back this Angels team right now. I would, again, go with the run line for the Tampa Bay Rays here as well to get that plus money price.
Yeah, I know I was being flippant about that earlier on, but that's just the way I feel about them. Because actually, Suarez pitched okay for a little while, but then the Angels never look like getting on the scoreboard at all. The innings were going by in minutes. You'd think you'd see a half inning that that Suarez would pitch scoreless, and then all of a sudden you think, right, here we go. Let's see if you can get some runs. And like 4.5 minutes later, that was the end of it. Absolutely gone. So yeah, I'm not buying the Angels at all, even a little bit. Next up is a 2:20 Eastern first pitch between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Chicago Cubs. Dakota Hudson will take the mound for the Cards, and Marcus Strowman goes for the Chicago Cubs. The Cards here are minus 130, Chicago Cubs plus 110. Total here is set at 9. Munaf, you can take us away with this rivalry between the Cards and the Cubs.
Yeah, Dakota Hudson on the mound, right-handed pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. 6-6 on the season with a 4.33 ERA, 66 strikeouts to 53 walks. Last 5 games has not been very good for the St. Louis Cardinals. He's 0-1 with a 5.55 ERA, 15 earned runs given up in 23 and 1/3 innings pitched. On the road this season, 2-4 with a 5.34 ERA. So, he's given up the runs over his last 5 starts, and there's been runs being scored at least in 3 of his last 4 starts where we've seen 14 or more runs. 13 or more runs in 3 out of his last 4 games when he started for the St. Louis Cardinals. Dakota Hudson in his career, though, against the Cubs, he's 2-0 with a 3.13 ERA, 25 strikeouts and 7 appearances. Filter this down since the 2020 season. And Dakota Hudson is 2-0 with a 3.29 ERA against the St. Louis Cardinals. Hasn't faced them this season. Marcus Strowman, 3-5 on the season with a 3.83 ERA. His last 5 games, he's 1-0 with a 2.70 ERA. But he is a pitcher that gets in trouble at home in Wrigley Field this season, where he is 0-3 with a 6.62 ERA. And he hasn't been very good against the Cardinals this season either. 2 appearances this season, 0-1 with a 10.13 ERA. His last start was in St. Louis against, obviously, the Cardinals back on August 4th, where he did go 6 2/3 innings and allowed 3 earned runs to the St. Louis Cardinals. That game ended up with the final score of 4-3 in the favor of the St. Louis Cardinals. Earlier this year on June 3rd, he got blown up by them. He gave up 9 earned runs in 4 innings. So both of these pitchers are in bad form, which kind of just led me to the over here, Malcolm. The number's at 9, but we've talked about how great the St. Louis Cardinals offense has been. WRC plus numbers against left-handed pitching and right-handed pitching. They are number 1 and number 2, respectively, in those categories. I think that the Cubs can get a couple off of Dakota Hudson here as well. So I'm going to go with the over 9 in this game between the Cardinals and the Cubs.
Yeah, it was really unusual to see a line so early on. I handicapped these games 4 or 5 hours ago, and there was a total. That 9 was up. So I don't know if they're just expecting some benign weather or the weather's going to be accurate. The chat box Captain Insane, Ole, people like that, commenting that obviously the weather is always important here. These two played a really weird doubleheader yesterday. That Chicago won the day game 2-0. And then St. Louis smashed them in the evening game, 13-something, 13-1 or 2 maybe, but absolutely bashed them. I like Strowman. Strowman's been going quite well lately. I've got the Chicago Cubs written down here as a home puppy. This is an afternoon game. It is tricky conditions, always shadows and things like that coming across at Wrigley Field. So I think Strowman's a better bet at this point. He's got a better ERA than Dakota Hudson. The Cubs have been more than competitive lately as well. So I just think this day game could follow the same pattern to the one that we saw on Tuesday afternoon. And I'm going to take the Cubs here to get the job done behind Marcus Strowman at plus 115. I took earlier on. Line has moved ever so slightly to plus 110. 4:10 Eastern first pitch is the Cleveland Guardians at the Seattle Mariners. Tristan McKenzie will go for Cleveland, and Marco Gonzalez, lefty, will go for the Seattle Mariners. Cleveland are slight favourites, minus 123. Seattle are a home puppy, plus 103. Total here is set at 7.5. Munaf McKenzie had an absolutely stellar outing last time.
Yeah, he did. It was against the Chicago White Sox where they got the 5-2 victory to the Guardians. He went 7 innings, allowed 2 earned runs, but he had 14 strikeouts in that game against the Chicago White Sox. On the season, 9-9 with a 3.11 ERA, 138 strikeouts at 35 walks. Over his last 5 games, he is 2-3 with a 3.12 ERA. On the road, his record is below 500 at 4-7 with a 3.35 ERA, but he's been going along pretty well here for the Cleveland Guardians. I don't think he has faced the Mariners this season. He did face them twice last season, and he did get blown up in one of those games where he went 4 1/3 inning and allowed 5 earned runs to the Seattle Mariners. And he has a 10.80 ERA against the Seattle Mariners. And if you take a look at his game log from last season, he gave up at least 3 walks in both of those starts to the Seattle Mariners, which kind of makes me nervous about that. But Marco Gonzalez on the other side for the Seattle Mariners, 8-12 with a 4.08 ERA, Malcolm. 75 strikeouts, 42 walks, 3-2 over his last 5 games. ERA is a little inflated at 5.34. He is giving up runs as well. Did have a pretty good outing against the A's, but who's not having that right now against a porous offense? But prior to that, against the Rangers, he gave up 5. To the Angels, he gave up 3. To the Yankees, he gave up 6. To the Texas Rangers, he gave up 2. He had a pretty good outing there. But take a look at the numbers for the Cleveland Guardians against left-handed pitching. They are number 11 in WRC plus. And the average, team average against left-handed pitching, they are also number 12. So they're above league average in those categories against left-handed pitching. Right now, they are out to a 4-0 lead. So the bats seem like they are going along well, and they are facing a left-handed pitcher today. Are the Guardians and Blake Snell? So I'm gonna give the advantage here to the Guardians in this game against Marco Gonzalez. I'll take the money line here for these for the Cleveland Guardians.
I thought that this was going to be a really popular spot here for the Cleveland Guardians. I think if you troll through gambling Twitter tomorrow or If you see some sharps posting their picks, that Cleveland will be very, very popular behind Tristan McKenzie. I mean, that 14 strikeout start last time. He's a really young arm, but he has been excellent. Like I say, he came onto my radar when he shut out the Yankees a few months ago now, kind of May time, I think it was. I am where everyone's zigging. I'm going to zag here. Captain Insano has pointed out there's a little bit of a travel spot. Cleveland are in San Diego as we speak, and then they will be traveling to Seattle for this relatively early start tomorrow. I think there's a little bit of history where if someone throws so many strikeouts in a game, they're kind of their arms hanging off for the next start, and it's just not possible to back that up. There's not much between the two teams at all, but with a little bit of home advantage for Seattle, and I think McKenzie might just regress a little bit just due to the sheer weight of the endeavour that he put in last time. So everyone's going to pick Cleveland. I'm going to go the other way. Seattle are a very good team, and there's not many times this season you're going to get them as a home dog against a team of a comparable ability, actually. So I'm going to go the other way, Moon, after you. Seattle on the money line at plus 103 for myself. All the lines that we are digging out tonight are from the WinBet. WinBet is absolutely the place to get all your baseball bets at the moment. Reduced juice in all MLB games, and you can still get the $100 free bet if you place a $100 bet. The WinBet Casino is open 24 hours a day, and you get a 100% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Win also released their first quarterback with 5 touchdown prop bets. Do you remember what the answer is, Moon, after that?
I think we said Derek Carr.
It's the correct answer. Yeah. There's no way in this. I outed Derek Carr. Loads to choose from. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/winbet. So they know that we sent you sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. Offer subject to change. T's and C's at winbet.com. Must be 21 or older and present in the state where playthrough WinBet is available. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Odds Trader is a great tool as well for the D-Gens. You can compare odds from all your major sports books, and you can compare different sign-up codes and promos so you get the best value for your money when you're opening a new account somewhere. On top of that, you get player stats, key game stats, injury reports, game day weather. There is play-by-play updates, and the bet tracker is an invaluable tool as well, so you know where you stand, how you're getting on. If you go to oddstrader.com/bluewire, OddsTrader is the #1 site for all of your game day bets. And with NFL right around the corner, you need to get in your pools. Run Your Pool is the place to do that. It's the home of competition. All your survivors and pick'ems and fantasy pools. Run Your Pool is the place for that. If you hop into our contest, the SGPN NFL Survivor Contest at Run Your Pool, $500 cash and a $250 gift certificate up for grabs there. Sign up at play.runyourpool.com/SGPN. That's play.runyourpool.com/SGPN. Next, we will go to the top left of my page, where the Colorado Rockies will take on the New York Mets. Ryan Feltner draws the start for Colorado. Jacob deGrom is on the hill for the Mets, and the prices are you ready for it? This is the shortest I've seen so far this season. -415 for the New York Mets. Colorado are +320, and the total here is set at 7. Ryan Feltner has a 2-4 record with a 5.88 ERA. He's pitched 56 2/3 with 49 strikeouts. deGrom is 2-1, has a 2.31 ERA, 23 1/3 with 37 strikeouts. Feltner actually pitched okay in his last start against the Giants, but generally it's been a bit of a struggle for him. That 5.88 ERA will tell you that. deGrom's been absolutely flames. You got no fear starting him. You could consider a K prop, but that's going to be really high. You could be verging on maybe 9.5, I think. So this was when I mentioned at the top of the show, there was games in my slate that were incredibly chalky, a -400. So I don't really know what to do here. We've talked before about ladder bets. In fact, we had a little chat offline, Moon, before we start recording about a ladder bet with a plus 1.5, plus 2.5, plus 3.5. If you could chop up a unit and a half 3 ways, put half a unit on those 3 things. But I mean, inspiration to find a bet on this is difficult. This is maybe a pizza bet game on a couple of home run props if you don't want to take to Grum or you don't want the ladder bet. But I was struggling, Moon, to find something that was very exciting or interesting to give out. I mean, can you point me in the direction of how you would tackle a minus 400 favorite in MLB?
Yeah, I mean, right now you see the run line minus 1.5 at minus 155. That's not bad, but I would ladder this up, like you said, minus 1.5 Mets, minus 2.5 Mets, minus 3.5 Mets. This is a spot for the Mets, their offense, to kind of break out of the funk that they were in Yankee Stadium. They only combined for 4 runs in those 2 games against the New York Yankees. They get a day off on Wednesday. They're going back home. You have a struggling Rockies team that's coming in with Ryan Feltner on the road. They are playing this afternoon in Coors Field against the Texas Rangers, getting spanked right now. So this is the ultimate spot. And like you mentioned, you could either tackle this by taking the alt lines of, like I mentioned, minus 2.5, minus 3.5, team totals for the New York Mets as well. I think they come out early. I think they come out often. So this might be a long game for the Colorado Rockies. So, if you're a same game parlay player, maybe if your book does let you, put together those minus 1.5s with the DeGrom strikeouts and team totals and things like that, I think that's the way you can attack this game for the New York Mets. But I mean, I'm not going to read you the numbers about Jacob DeGrom. It's Jacob DeGrom, and I don't see a reason where he won't get to 10 strikeouts in this game, because you take a look at the numbers for the Colorado Rockies against right-handed pitching on the road over the last 2 weeks. They ranked number 6 in the entire league in strikeout percentage at 27.5. So I am for sure going to be laddering the Mets up in this game, looking at DeGrom strikeouts as well. And you're right. It'll probably be at 9.5 for sure.
I mean, I've even looked at the game total at 7, and you mentioned the New York Mets team total. I mean, that's going to be 6.5. If the total there is 7, you're generous. You'd be generous to give the Rockies 1 run. You're expecting kind of DeGrom to shut them out. And maybe did they pick up 1 in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th? I don't know. So yeah, it was really tricky. But laddering up the Mets is just about your only course of action, I think. Yeah, it's not big or clever, but we'll have to do it. 7:05 Eastern first pitch is the Cincinnati Reds and the Philadelphia Phillies, where Justin Dunn will go for the Reds and Aaron Nola goes for the Phillies. This is another one we're going to be at great risk of repeating ourselves here. Let's see if I can. The lines, the Phillies in this one are minus 320, so not as short as the Mets, but not a kick in the arse off it either. Cincinnati are plus 260. The total is at 8.5. Justin Dunn has a record of 1-1 with a 6.08 ERA. Has pitched 13 1/3 innings with 10 strikeouts. Aaron Nola is 8-10, a 3.25 ERA, 157 2/3 pitched, 174 strikeouts. Justin Dunn, I don't mind Justin Dunn. He was a little kind of on my radar when he was at Seattle last season. Moved across to the Reds. I kept an eye on him. I drafted him some best ball teams and stuff. He's been injured and he's just come back, and his last start was okay. He's had 3 starts since he came back. His last start was okay. He 1 earned run over 5 innings. Was against the Pittsburgh Pirates. I do like him. I think there's better days ahead, but he looks thoroughly exposed here in this spot. I don't fancy his chances tomorrow even a little bit. Nola struggled against the good division rivals. He struggled when he's taken on the Braves. He struggled when he's taken on the Mets. But against the poor teams, this is where Aaron Nola has made hay this season. Another stat was the Phillies against the poor teams, against teams with a sub 500 record. The Phillies are 38-19. That's been their bread and butter. They've been flat track bullies. That's a cricket term, actually. You might get that Moon up. I doubt many of our other listeners is. Yeah, they've been very much flat track bullies, and they've been taking apart the poorer side. So again, head scratch, shrug of the shoulders, like the Mets game. I've got the Phillies run line written down, but that's going to be again minus 150 or thereabouts. So could ask you the same question, Munaf. I mean, what have you got? What have you got here?
Yeah, the thing that makes me nervous about Aaron Nola is that he has struggled at home this season. Where he is, let's see what his record is. 4-4, but the ERA is 4.54 at home. And then on the road this season is 2.13. Now you're right that he's probably played some tough opponents at home. He's faced the Mets. He's faced the Braves. He's faced the Braves again, where he's gotten bashed by the Braves at home this season. He also faced the Dodgers at home, and I also looked at how he's done against the Reds over the past, or at least over his career and over the last couple of seasons. And he struggled against the Reds for whatever reason. He's won it last season, 1-1 with a 6.75 ERA against them. And I know this is a completely different lineup for the Reds, and they sold a lot of their parts, and they traded away pieces to contending teams. This is a spot where the Phillies, I think, kind of have to get those wins against, teams like Cincinnati Reds, like you mentioned, are one of the poorest teams in the National League if they want to, continue to be in that wild card race in the National League. So, teams like the Mets and the Braves, that they're going to pile on the wins in that division, but the Phillies are fighting for a playoff position in the wild card. So, I mean, you have your ace on the mound here. You got to perform here if you're Aaron Nola, and I think the only way, again, you're right, is probably just look at the run line here, Malcolm. I'm not going to be betting this game because the numbers do make me nervous about Aaron Nola, but if you had a gun to my head, I'd rather back Aaron Nola versus Justin Dunn, that's for sure.
Next is a bit more of a competitive game on the books that we can get our teeth into, is 7:05 Eastern first pitch between the Chicago White Sox and the Baltimore Orioles, where Lance Lynn will take the ball for the White Sox and Jordan Lyles goes for Baltimore. Lines are to pick him minus 108 each of two. Total set at 8.5. Munaf. This is more like it. Earn your money. What you got?
Yeah, Lance Lynn for the Chicago White Sox tomorrow, 3-5 with a 5.30 ERA on the season. Last 5 games, he's been pretty good, 2-2 with a 3.68 ERA. But on the road is where he really gets into trouble, Malcolm. He's 0-3 with a 6.39 ERA. Did face the Baltimore Orioles earlier this season, where he did go 6 2/3, but he allowed 5 earned runs in that game to the Baltimore Orioles. His last start was against the Guardians, where he had a great outing, probably his best one since he faced the Royals. But I talked about his last 5 numbers, Malcolm, or last 5 games, his numbers, but it's been against some porous offenses, right? He, like I mentioned, I mean, Guardians are a pretty, I think, above an average offense. But again, he faced the Tigers, he faced the Royals twice, and then he had the A's. But when it's been against good offenses, and we know the Orioles have a pretty good offense, they're in that hunt in the American League for a wild card spot. I think this is going to be an opportunity for the Orioles to get to him again. And like I mentioned earlier this year, they got to him where he gave up 6 runs to the Baltimore Orioles. You look at Jordan Lyles, 9-9 on the season, 4.61 ERA, 119 strikeouts, 45 walks. Has been pretty good over his last 5 games as well. 3-1 with a 3.81 ERA. At home, he's really good. 4-2 with a 3.13 ERA. He did struggle in one outing against the Chicago White Sox earlier this year. 7 innings, did allow 4 earned runs in that span. I am not going to be putting on my money on the Chicago White Sox anymore this season. And we've talked about how bad just Tony La Russa has been for this organization. And I would be shocked if he is back with this team next season. But for this game, at least, I have to go with the Orioles here. I trust Jordan Lyles more at home, Malcolm, than I do on the road. And I lean towards the over 8 in this game as well. And if your book offers it, and I know a lot of books do, you might want to take a look at Baltimore Orioles team total in the first 5 innings to go over as well. Lance Lynn, he's just struggled on the road this year. And like I mentioned earlier, that he had a bad outing against his Baltimore Orioles team. So I'll take the Baltimore Orioles money line here, as well as a team total for the Baltimore Orioles to go over first 5 innings.
Yeah, this seems like it's a team ride, not only between me and yourself, but all the people in the chat box as well, Cosmo and Insano, are all riding the Baltimore Orioles here. And it's fairly basic reasons. As a handicap, you need to be able to trust the team that you're going to put your money on. And you can't trust the Chicago White Sox. You've got a team here who are slightly dysfunctional and struggle to put it together for short periods of time, whether or not it's games on end or even during a game, they're struggling to put innings together. Just there's something which, and I think we kind of know what it is actually. It stems from the top down. But in Baltimore, the complete opposite. Baltimore, their fundamentals are good, the decision making is good, and they've been brilliant this year. They've been one of the best stories. So if you're going to pick one of these two teams to trust and put a couple of quid behind, it has to be the Baltimore Orioles. I don't think Lance Lynn's particularly trustworthy either, and Jordan Lyles has been going better recently of late. So there is a case to be made for the overs, but I think a safer bet here is the Baltimore Orioles. So yeah, -108 on the money line. It's the Orioles there for me as well, Munaf. Next up, I'm going to tell you all about Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform. I assume you've got your fantasy leagues on there. I absolutely very much do, as do 4 million other people. But Sleeper have added a over or under game where you can win a few quid as well by picking your players, picking your props, and then you can win 2 to 20 times that stake by being right. Sleeper are the first sports contest game built into your fantasy experience. If you join our listener group, use the code sleeper.com/SGP. Sleeper will automatically match your first deposit up to $100. Go to sleeper.com/SGP. Get a $100 match on your first deposit. T's and C's apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. And Trade Coffee, another favourite of ours here. Trade Coffee will connect you and all their customers to the freshest and best tasting coffee from independent craft roasters around the country. 450 different kinds of coffee, live and ready to ship. They'll send you freshly roasted beans from 60 of the country's best craft roasters. The thing to do here to kick this off is take the quiz at drinktrade.com/SGP, where you can put in all your preferences, and Trade Coffee will pick a coffee that is perfect for you. $30 off plus free shipping is the offer currently. So take the quiz, drinktrade.com/SGP, and let Trade find you a coffee that you love. For $30 off, drinktrade.com/SGP. 7:10 Eastern first pitch is the Toronto Blue Jays at the Boston Red Sox. Kevin Grossman for the Toronto Blue Jays, and Cutter Crawford is on the hill for the Red Sox. Toronto are -175, Boston +145, totally are set at 8.5. Kevin Grossman has a record of 9-9 with a 2.99 ERA. He's pitched 129 1/3 with 149 strikeouts. Cutter Crawford is 3-5, has a 5.14 ERA, has pitched 68 1/3 with 67 strikeouts. Kevin Grossman is 2-2 in his last 5 starts. He's got a 2.97 ERA, but 5 games, Munaf, 3 of them 0 earned runs. The other 2, 5 earned runs each. I mean, give us a clue, Kev. I mean, what you're going to throw here. So he's either given up 0 or 5. I mean, it's not very helpful when you're trying to handicap it. He does have a 1.65 road ERA, and I think the key stat here, he's 3-0 against Boston so far this season. He's pitched 26 innings against Boston. He has a 1.38 ERA and 37 strikeouts in those 26 innings, which is an incredibly high number. So I'd be interested to see what that K-prop is tomorrow. 2 of the last 3 of Cutter Crawford's have been awful. 5 earned runs against Kansas City, 9 earned runs against Baltimore. The -175 is too short. Run line is in play, but I think a Toronto Blue Jays team total would be the way to go for me. And I'll keep an eye on the Kevin Grossman strikeout props when they come out, Munaf.
Yeah, you mentioned there, Malcolm, that he's given up 5 earned runs in 3 out of his last 5 starts. But if you take a look closer, those 5 earned runs that he has given up have been at home for Kevin Grossman. And if you take a look at his road record, I think that's where you really kind of differentiate how good of a pitcher he is on the road. This season, 6-3 with a 1.65 ERA on the road for Kevin Grossman. At home this season, he is 3-6 with a 4.63 ERA. So at Rogers Stadium or Center, whatever they call it, he struggled there, and he has great history against the Red Sox this season. He's a perfect 3-0 against the Red Sox with a 1.38 ERA. He's only allowed 4 earned runs to the Red Sox this season. And I'm going to filter this down so we could take a more look at his strikeouts against the Red Sox this season. Like you mentioned, Malcolm, he's had 8 or more in all 4 starts for the Blue Jays. He's at 8, and then 2 games where he's had 10 each. So I think that's a great call that you just made about the strikeouts for Kevin Gausman as well. So I'm looking at how they've done on the run line here. I do want to play the run line because this number is very juicy, like you mentioned, at minus 175. So the first start in April, they won. The Blue Jays did 3-2, 6-5. And then his last 2 starts, they won 7-2. And then in July 22nd, they won. That was the game where they scored 28 runs, Malcolm. Kevin Gausman had that start.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I think that this is going to be where I want to back Kevin Gausman on the run line here, Malcolm. And I love your call there about the strikeout props. So I'm going to take a look at that as well. Hopefully we get a 6.5 or possibly a 7.5. But another note for the Red Sox, I think Xander Bogaerts will probably be day-to-day or on the IL because I think he left yesterday with a back injury for the Red Sox. So this Red Sox team looks like they're may start to cave it in for the season. Like you mentioned, Cutter Crawford is finally looking like the pitcher that I thought he would be, where he has kind of regressed back to after having a great start for the Red Sox. So give me the Jays run line here as well, Malcolm.
Okay. 2 games left. 8:10 Eastern first pitch. The Minnesota Twins at the Houston Astros. Chris Archer for Minnesota and Luis Garcia will be on the hill for Houston. Minnesota are plus 150. Houston minus 175. Total here is set at 8.5. Chris Archer is 2-6 on the season, has a 4.02 ERA, 87 1/3 pitched and 76 strikeouts. Garcia is 10-8 with a 4.09 ERA, 123 1/3 pitched with 127 strikeouts. Archer is very consistent in that it's just uninspiring either way. He's obviously had injury problems in the past. He goes maximum 5 innings pitched. That's it. He's absolutely on a limit. Occasionally 4, but never gets beyond 5. And he's been fine. He'll give up 2 or 3 runs in that spell, and then they'll pull him. Archer's last 4 starts, the games have finished. We talked about Minnesota being an under team and how Archer, you can sort of set your watch by. In the last 4 starts, they've lost 4-3, lost 4-2, lost 3-2, lost 5-3. So they kind of all come in under this total of 8.5, and Minnesota tend to lose them. Garcia, however, has been struggling, 5.46 in his last 5 starts. His last 5 starts, again, talk about consistency, 3.44, 3.4 earned runs given up here. All of this to me points towards the first 5 over Munaf. I think we can get 2 or 3 out of each. With a total here at 8.5, what would that first 5 total be, Munaf?
Probably 4.5.
Yeah, okay, then we'll give up 3 each. It's we'll get to 6, no problem. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Chris Archer, he hadn't started earlier this season against the Houston Astros, where in 3 innings, the Astros were able to get 4 earned runs off of him. Had 3 walks in that game as well. But on the road is where he's really struggled, Malcolm. 0-3 with a 4.24 ERA for the Minnesota Twins. And you mentioned that he doesn't go past 5 innings. Like it's either 4 or 5 innings, and he'll give it up. I think if you're able to find a team total for the Astros as well in the first 5 innings, probably be at 2.5, maybe at even money for that bet. I like that. And then, like you mentioned, Luis Garcia, for whatever reason, has been struggling. His last 2 games, he did give up, like you mentioned, 4, 4, and 3, but it's really been the offense that's kind of carried the Astros to the victory in his starts. The last game, 21-5 in the Chicago White Sox game, but as a pitcher, he struggled, and he's also allowing walks. This season at home, he is 7-3. The ERA is at 4.88, and I should have dug a little deeper and looked at how many runs they are actually scoring at home when Garcia is starting, and just kind of briefly looking at it. Since the month of July, he's had 4 home starts for the Houston Astros, and the Astros have scored 9 against the Royals. They scored 7 against the Yankees. They had 2 against the Red Sox, where they lost that game, and they had 7 against the A's. So I think this might be a spot where the offense again shows up for the Astros with Chris Archer on the mound for the Minnesota Twins. So I like the over call that you did make, but I think my favorite bet might be the Astros team total in this game.
Okay, yeah. So whichever way you skin it, we're trying to get some runs
Yeah.
over home plate in this one. Last game, it's another chalky one. It's the 9:40 Eastern first pitch between the New York Yankees and the Oakland Athletics. No official pitcher for New York. I've got Jameson Taillon, Moonaf. You can correct me if I'm
You're
wrong.
right.
Okay, and James Caprillion will
Yes, sir.
go for Auckland. We do have lines, so I'm guessing that Tyone info we can be confident in. New York Yankees are minus 225 on the road. Auckland at plus 186. Totally set at 7. Another chalky one, Moonaf. Did you have some sort of wizardry to break this down?
Yeah, I thought this total was a little conservative here, Malcolm, at 7. Jameson Taillon has he's been struggling since I believe the All-Star break, and I think this was what I was looking at. So pre All-Star break he was 10-2 with a 3.86 ERA. Since the All-Star break, 1-2 with a 4.45 ERA. This season on the road, he is 5-2 with a 4.33 ERA. Against AL West teams, he is 3-0, but he has an ERA of 5.34. I'm pretty sure that's inflated because he had 2 bad outings against the Seattle Mariners. James Caprillion, again, we talked a lot about him last season as well, Malcolm, and I think this is a season where I do just want to fade him, even though he's been really good over his last 5 games where they are 2-2 with a 3.04 ERA. At home this season in the Coliseum over there in Oakland, he is 0-4 with a 4.57 ERA. And it looks like the Yankees offense may have figured some things out as well. They went up against the Mets. They scored 4 runs each in those 2 games. They also do get Stanton back, Malcolm, for the New York Yankees. So he'll be back. Matt Carpenter shouldn't be too far behind. We saw DJ LeMahieu come back. So they're getting some pieces back on the offense. And I think that this might be an opportunity where they can put up some runs in this game as well. Again, we talked about it when I was on the pod earlier this week that Toronto kind of are approaching them on that division lead. I think that if they're able to take care of business here against, poorer teams like the Oakland A's, that they can solidify that lead going forward. So I think this run line, I think we might be getting a little discount here, Malcolm, with the Yankees at -1.5 at -125. So I do like the run line here for the New York Yankees, and I do like the team total over for the Yankees as well. I'm going to fade Caprillion. I think I was looking at this earlier that he has struggled against the Yankees in his career. Let me see if I can find that here real quick. So last season he did have 2 starts against the Yankees where in one start, 5 2/3, he allowed 3 earned runs and 2 home runs. And then another start, he went 5 innings and gave up 6 earned runs to the Yankees. In both of those games, the Yankees combined for 5 home runs. And I'll dig a little deeper, maybe tweet it out or drop this in the Discord channel and see who he kind of has given up those home runs to. Maybe some home run props are potential there as well, Malcolm.
I did think the value on the Yankees was a bit greater than some of these other chalky games that we've seen. Obviously, the Mets -400, the Phillies are north of 300, and the -225 on the Yankees does bring the run line into play a little bit. I've got a completely different direction here. You mentioned that Caprillion has gone okay relatively recently, and Taillon kind of hasn't. If you remember back to, I don't know if it was the last series these 2 teams played, where Oakland repeatedly got ahead before blowing up, didn't they? And I just thought, with the way the Yankees bats have been scuffing a little bit, if Caprillion could keep them quiet, maybe this could follow the same pattern again. If Oakland could somehow score a run, they could lead here in the first 5. So on a very chalky slate, in which I'm looking for a little bit of value, looking for a dog, I thought Oakland first 5 here. Not a very confident play, but there's a lot of previous for it. Caprillion's been going okay, and why not? So that'll be my play in that one. Lock and dog picks coming up momentarily. After I've told you about Babbel, learning a second language. How many languages do you speak, Munaf?
Let's see. 1, 2, 3. I'll go 3.5.
3.5. Is the half English?
Maybe. Sometimes. I was struggling a little bit with St. Louis today.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you walked into that one. Babbel is the language, a learning language tool. Really good. Quite very modern. Very easy to use. You got 15-minute lessons. Make it the perfect way to learn a new language. 14 different languages to choose from. including Spanish, French, Italian, and German. They use speech recognition technology, podcast, games, videos, stories, live classes, and it comes with a 20-day money-back guarantee. Start your new language learning journey with Babbel, and you can save 60% off your subscription when you go to babbel.com/SGP. That's babbel.com/SGP for up to 60% off your subscription. Babbel is language for life. And finally, Elias, with the start of the NFL season around the corner. Elias are the firm that do the official stats for US pro sports leagues, including the NFL. So their app is a very trusted source of those sports stats, team and player stats, head-to-head comparisons, insights from a expert research team there as well. So everything you need really to help you make those decisions when you're handicapping. So download the Elias Game Plan app. It's ELIAS. New features all the time will help you take your game to the next level. Find the Elias Game Plan app in the App Store or the Play Store today. Munaf, locks and dogs. Tricky, to say the least, to find certainly to find a dog or even find a lock that was a working man's price. But what have you got for us, man?
Yeah, for my lock, I'm gonna go with let's go with the Toronto. Let's go Toronto Blue Jays -1.5 on the run line against the Boston Red Sox. I talked about Kevin Gausman's number this season against the Boston Red Sox. Race has been absolutely incredible against them. He's been great on the road as well. So I really like this run line. I think they're just going to continue to dominate against the Red Sox like they have been all season. So I'll take Kevin Gausman and the Toronto Blue Jays -1.5, -105 on the run line. And also love your call about the strikeouts there, Malcolm. I'm going to be looking out for that for myself. For my dog, now this is where it gets tricky, Malcolm. Let's see.
Colorado.
Absolutely not.
No, not Colorado.
No. I'll give out. Let's go with the St. Louis Cardinals run line. That's at a plus price. Dakota Hudson.
Ooh.
I talked about Marcus Strowman has struggled in his 2 starts this season against the St. Louis Cardinals, and they're just absolutely crushing right-handed pitching, left-handed pitching right now. And I think that's going to continue for them as they build their lead in the NL Central Division. And I think we got to pat ourselves on the back a little bit for how we gave out the Cardinals at the when we did the post All-Star break.
Yeah,
show.
Absolutely.
That number, I think, was around 2-1 where Noah gave it out. And I think I touted again at +150 and at +110. Yeah. I think some books that's all the way up to -700 now, Malcolm. So I'm going to ride the Cardinals here. Give me Dakota Hudson and the Cardinals -1.5, +125 on the run line against the Chicago Cubs in an early afternoon game tomorrow.
Yeah, we were very much on the right side of that one. Okay, my lock, I'm going to go back to the top of the show and just to fade the Angels to death. I'm going to take Tampa Bay Rays on the run line here. I saw a price of +140 earlier on. Like I said, I don't get to watch the West Coast teams as much because that's all going on at 4, 5 a.m. Where I am. So the Angels were at a workable time in Tampa last night. So I watched it and I kind of saw exactly where all these problems are stemming from. So with what I know statistically and the little bit of eye test that I watched last night, I just wasn't having it. Absolutely. I'm talking to my pocket a little bit as well, because obviously we took Suarez in the Angels on the first 5. So this is another revenge spot for me, particularly. I'll take the Tampa Bay Rays on the run line +140. And for my dog, I'm going to take Seattle at home +103. Seems like a good spot for Seattle. I mean,
flip that. Take the Rays as your dog because it's a plus price on the run line.
+140. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah.
But it's up
to
you.
You're right. I'm not even thinking straight. I have just taken the buffoon crown off Insano, who was temporarily wearing it earlier on. Yeah, okay. So my dog is going to be the Tampa Bay Rays, Munaf, +140 for my luck. I'll take Seattle on the money line at +103. I just think McKenzie will regress after that last start. The 14 strikeout start is very much factored into this price here. I like Cleveland. Good, what looks like a good win tonight in San Diego, but then a long travel spot up to Seattle for an early evening game tomorrow. Seattle are a good side, and I think they can get it done here. Plus money, I think it's an excellent price, Munaf. And that is that.
There we go.
Well done.
50 minutes. We did it.
Thank you, everyone. Captain Insano is reveling in calling me a buffoon in the chat, which is completely fair enough. I have no recourse at all. Thanks, everyone, for joining in. I do enjoy everyone chirping up in the little chat box. It's added a whole new dimension to our show. It's lots of fun. Thank you very much, Munaf. I enjoyed our old-timey little slot here this evening. I know you take mild offence when I called it an old man show because I bracket you in with me. You claim there's 16 years between us, but I'm not buying that for a minute. That's a lot. Unless you had a very hard paper round when you were little, mate. There's no way there's 16 years between us. But I enjoy getting back to basics, just doing a little two-man show. Away from the young people every now and again. We'll be back tomorrow. Maybe the young people will be joining us again then. But good luck with all your bets. Until then, we will see you down the road. Cheers.